Hello, BookTube. Well, as you know, we're only a few days away from the beginning of July. And if you are a dyed-in-the-wool BookTube fan, as I am, you scan every new month thinking about uh, the BookTube events for that month. There are many BookTube events for every month, and there are quite a few for July. And there's a big one. There's a big one with deep roots and lots of passionate engagement, and that is Jane Austen July. Quite a few of you already know this. I know because you've been sending me emails about your TBRs, about your plans for celebrating all things Jane Austen in the month of July. I've watched a whole playlist of TBR videos. The official announcement is up, and there are prompts as well if you feel like it. Of course, they're totally fun. They're totally informal. Read some nonfiction about Jane Austen or Jane Austen's world. Read something set in the world of Jane Austen, or a pastiche of some kind. Read something adjacent to Jane Austen, something that was written at about the same time. Things like that. Fun prompts like that. And I wasn't sure whether or not I would be able to participate in Jane Austen July. I planned on cheering it on from the sidelines, of course. But I wasn't sure if I'd be able to participate because, as you may or may not know from while watching these videos lately, it's a bit chaotic here at Hyde Cottage. Most of the rooms in this house have been ripped to shreds. Floors pulled up, walls stripped back to their studs and joists, dust and dirt and debris and 100-year-old horsehair in the air everywhere. Exposed walls, exposed to the open air, holes everywhere, dangerous to walk around, snaking power cords, industrial strength plugs that snake their way across the floor and are plugged in the oddest places, like a socket by the sink or something like that. You have no idea how vital it is. You can't touch any of it. All the furniture upside down and piled in heaps and where it doesn't belong. That situation here, I have been told, will be over, fixed beyond recall, so that you would never know that it was this way in a couple of days. And I have learned the language that is being spoken to me when I hear things like that enough to know that this is going to stay true probably throughout the month of July and maybe the month of August. So it's a long haul of living in this 10-foot by 10-foot room. It's a long haul of that. And I wasn't sure how much that would interfere with my videos. But lately, I made a video on Monday when the work had barely begun. I made videos yesterday when the work was in full swing. And Frida and I were pretty much confined to this room. And those videos, I am told by all and sundry, not only the ones who left comments on the videos, people who emailed me, but the audio was just fine. The video was just fine. It was a different location, but it was not a drastic drop-off in service from Steve Donoghue Studios. If that's true, I think I can keep that true. That's kind of what I was hoping for. Which means that I am capable of participating in Jane Austen July, and I had an idea in mind. Hannah of Hannah's Books and I have really, really enjoyed collaborating. We love doing discussion videos whenever she's over here to visit. Those days are over with. She'd have to sit on an overturned paint can of some kind, and we'd have to eat on a 2x4. But I can dream. I can remember. They can't take my memories away. They tried with a spackle gun, and it didn't work. But we've enjoyed those conversations. We also had it's on a temporary pause, a brief feature where we collaborate on reading our way through the New York Times Sunday Book Review. And in the course of those videos, not only did we reaffirm how much we like making videos together, but also, I don't know about Hannah, but I heard from a whole lot of you saying that this was fascinating because Hannah and I are very different personalities and very different readers. I think that's fascinating. You can't really simulate that. You have to sort of stumble across it. And I think, I can't speak for her, but for me, there was definitely an element of, well, I'll happily look around for something to do with you. If it's this much fun, I'll happily look around for it. We have a combination of personalities that I think works really well, which is that she she tempers my bombast, and my bombast tempers itself around megawatt brains, deep water brains. I don't have a megawatt deep water brain, but I have been lucky enough to know quite a few of them. Some of them have been on this channel quite a few times over the years. And I don't try to just roll right over such minds. So it ends up being lots and lots of fun. And I usually learn something. And we had an idea for Jane Austen July, Hannah and I did, which was to go right back to the basics, to go as basic as Jane Austen July gets, and for her and I to do a read-along of Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen's most famous novel, no matter what you persuasion heads want to tell yourself, no matter what you Sense and Sensibility fans want to say. It's by far her most famous book. We thought, well, wouldn't it be simple and really enjoyable to just do a read-along of Pride and Prejudice? Now, there shouldn't be anyone out there who hasn't read Pride and Prejudice, because a few years ago I did a mandatory read-along. So it wasn't a voluntary thing. It wasn't, oh, well, I'm not really interested in that book, so I won't watch those videos. I'll just pop in for something else, or I'll do some other read-along that month. No, it was mandatory. I was exercising my authority as a certified sexy YouTube influencer. And that authority has only grown since then. So there shouldn't be anyone out there who hasn't read Pride and Prejudice. So this would be a reread, I trust, for all of you. But if you watched Hannah's latest video on her own channel, this has been a pretty rocky last few weeks for her as well. In terms of chaos on her on-the-ground life, and also in terms of her emotional life. I won't... There's no equivalence, of course, between what she's going through and what I'm going through, especially since if you give me a Wi-Fi connection, my 10-pound little dog, and this book room, pretty much okay. I'm pretty much okay. I'm not going to have the heart palpitations that the work in progress here, the photographs of it, have caused in a number of you delicate little daffodils. I've been very touched by the emails that I've been getting, people saying, I just couldn't go through what you're going through. And I got a couple of emails from people wondering, why haven't I decamped? I don't really want to, unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't really want to. I want to keep an eye on the work. I don't 100% trust the building being secured at the end of every workday. I want to be here to do that. All of my stuff is here. All the usual, old person thing to say. So I won't make any equivalence to that. It has been an upheaval here. It is very much an upheaval. Nothing is where it belongs. There's plastic tarps over all my bookcases, except the ones in this room. It's not the equivalent of what Hannah's going through, and because I knew that, I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe our Jane Austen July event can probably wait. Maybe this isn't the year for it. But she informs me that she is up for it. So this is your announcement video. that in addition to all the other stuff that's going on for Jane Austen July, Hannah at Hannah's Books and I will be doing a read-along of Pride and Prejudice. We'll be doing 1/4 of the book. Boy, it is convenient to have all my penguins right here. I can just reach out and grab them. This is the beautiful Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition of the complete Jane Austen, with the deckled edges and the French flaps and tipped-in articles of all kinds. So we will be doing just take the chapters in Pride and Prejudice. We'll be doing 1/4 of the book, probably every weekend. And whether it's a first read or a reread, we welcome you to come along. I have no idea what edition of the book Hannah will be using. I think she has the Harvard Belknap annotated. I used to have the Harvard Belknap annotated, and I miss it. I don't know why I don't have it anymore. Harvard did the annotated, those oversized annotated editions. Do I have one nearby? I've got everything else nearby. Those oversized annotated editions, they did one for every one of Jane Austen. They were beautiful. But that's what we're going to do for Jane Austen July. Now, I think that there's still a tentative element here. I could be wrong about that. I think there's two tentative elements, one in both of our parts. I just mentioned my basic conditions, the dog, the room, and Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi goes out, then of course I can't participate. If the Wi-Fi becomes dodgy, maybe because it's hanging from thin air, because the floors, the walls, and the ceiling of the room that the router is in are all gone, then I wouldn't be able to participate. If Hannah's troubles on her end get worse suddenly or unpredictably, or start to take a toll, a greater toll than she thinks mentally. She might not, so it's tentative, but we're going to try. We're going to try to do a read along of Pride and Prejudice. I have read this book, I literally don't know how many times. It's well over 100 times, so I don't. Once I get over 100, I don't keep count anymore. I have no idea how many times I've read it, but I'm always up for a reread. I was going to reread it for Jane Austen July anyway, but now I have the best possible company. so that's your announcement video. I hope you join us. I'd love to hear what you're doing for Jane Austen July, even if you don't want to give Pride and Prejudice another read. What are you doing? Are you going to follow the prompts? And if so, how are you going to follow them? I'm interested in all the creativity of that anyway. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.